my previous lecture. And today's lecture, I just want to elaborate two concepts that are present in Paradise Lost. So let us um, see what those concepts are. So we have discussed yesterday that, of course, Milton has, Milton poured into Paradise Lost a lifetime learning, okay, which he learned throughout his life and his thinking of theological, philosophical, and political questions. This we have seen how when we were considering that Paradise Lost, in spite of all its universal features of an epic, or universal themes that are dealt with in Paradise Lost, still be considered as a text that is produced out of the historical, political, social, or religious conditions that were prevailing. Because Milton, as a man and as a poet, and also as a Puritan, was always engaging himself the with his contemporary situations, and he was of course a political leader also, and his voice was very vibrant at that time. So whatever he gathered, his theological knowledge, philosophical knowledge, and also political questions, etc., all were incorporated into Paradise Lost that we have seen. And now it also reflects not only his philosophical, theological ideas, but his knowledge of many things like astronomy, history, logic, law, mathematics, music, new world, travel narratives, and the natural world, and the God's own book of nature. So many things are there in Paradise Lost. And while coming to the concepts that were present in Paradise Lost, there are many like Monism, Arminianism, Christology, Republicanism, and Antinomianism. Okay, so these are actually some concepts which scholars believe that they were present in Paradise Lost. But today, I just want to focus on two important concepts, that is monism. Okay, what is this monism? Monism is belief that entire created universe and man especially is a part of a unified material continuum. So monism is to believe that this is a single universe and man is a part of this unified material continuum. And in this universe, okay, which is a part of material continuum, uh, it is believed that spirit and matter, okay, spirit means our soul and matter means our body, are relative degrees rather than opposite. So as we see the in other cultures that there is the dichotomy of the body and soul, so we always think about this human life in binary, that is the body and the soul is for the spiritual issues and body is for the physical, that we know that it is there in our culture. And but actually Milton won't believe in this dichotomy or the binary. Rather, he believes that it human beings body is a part of the unified material continuum, where it is believed that the spirit and the body, that is soul and the body is considered as matter. They are not opposite things, but they are he says relative terms. And in this, all created beings aspire to return to the single perfection that is named as God. So the monism is considering this body and soul as relative terms but not opposing terms. And of course, all people, of course, believe to reach to God. That is one thing, that is monism, a single perfection which is called as monism. And um, in Milton's Paradise Lost, we know that fallen angels are there, and fallen angels are unlike human beings, they are purely material beings. Of course, fallen angels and even angels also, because they are pure spirit. There is no material or matter. There is no matter, but only spirit. That is why, see, in the after the fallen angels have built pandemonium, and when they were gathering into a meeting, we have seen how all the gigantic size or monstrous size fallen angels have changed their shape into pygmies or dwarfs, etc. And they have gathered many in number into the pandemonium. So there itself we can guess the monism of Milton, where Milton believes that God is one. This, that is spirit, no matter. And that is why fallen angels, even angels, of course, can also change their forms. And because fallen angels are immortal and they are from heaven only, they can also change their forms. So they don't have any material, but they have spirit only, which of course changes. Okay. And this is actually considered as monism. And Milton's monism is named differently also. Many other names are also used. They are actually animist materialism, animist monism, monistic materialism, etc. This Milton's monism is also known as known in all these names. And his monism extends from his belief that he wrote in De Doctrina Christiana, okay, like a doctrine of the Christians. Of course, though the authorship of this doctrine is, the authorship is always argued, because there is no consent that Milton only wrote. But however, some people believe that Milton is the author of this De Doctrina Christiana, and therein he specifies that God created this world from sort of material. See, monistic materialism. Monism is also called as a monistic materialism. So we are the material, and we think that God is the soul. Okay. So here the monistic belief is that we are also drawn from God only. We are not drawn from nothingness. Rather, it is believed that God created human beings drawing some kind of material from himself. That is why it is called as monistic materialism. So even in the Genesis, you have this. In Bible, the Genesis also explains that God created us from the chaotic world. That means what? Matter is there. Matter, okay? Material is there before God has created this world. So, but that material is not there in an orderly manner. So God gave it an order, and then even human beings are made from the soil. Okay. So that means he took the clay, and then he made human beings, and it is believed that he blew the life that is into our nostrils. That is why if we can't breathe, of course we no more alive. We are no more alive. So Milton's monism believes in this theory of material from which we are also created. That is one material. So God is one, and God has drawn material from Himself and has made us, the human beings. So all angels are also made by God only. So it is all a product of a single material. So that is why it is monism. And then uh, to arrive at this concept of monism, Milton has many sources besides Bible. Okay, Bible is one of the sources for Milton for writing this Paradise Lost. Of course, it is not the only source for Milton, because he has had drawn much from philosophy also. So behind these monistic ideas of Milton, we have the work of different sources like Plato's Symposium and Timaeus. Those are the works in which Milton, of course, has given his ideas of monism. That is one single God and material, etc. And Lucretius is another philosopher. He wrote a philosophical epic on the nature of thing. So there also it is believed that God has created, as I have already explained to you, how drawing a material from himself. So Milton has taken from the philosophies of Plato, Lucretius, and also his ideas are based on Paul's ideas. Paul is Apostle Paul, who is a great servant of God in the Christian theology, and he developed his own philosophy, wherein Paul also, of course, draws upon this monistic philosophy in Romans, the book of the Bible, the New Testament, that is Romans, and then 1 and 2 chapters of Corinthians. This is also another book of Bible which is there in the New Testament. So Paul actually advocated for the dichotomy of life of God and life against God. Okay. And Milton, by advocating complete submission to God, accounts for monism. So, of course, God is one and our life is also one. Milton has developed his concept of monism from this idea of, complete submission to God. We have to completely submit to God. So one God only. See, Saturn could not submit to God. That is why, of course, he was thrown out of the heaven. So that is that though the Saturn is the spirit, of course, he deviated from God, and that is why he is not living with God. This is monism, is belief in the single God and single material, and a belief that the soul and the body are not two things, but they are one only. They are considered not as contradicting things, but relational things only. So this is one concept that is explained in Paradise Lost, that is visible in Paradise Lost. And then the second concept I want to present is Arminianism. So this is simply the defense of free will. Free will, that means human will. It is your will, willpower, we say always. So human beings are having a willpower to do things, to decide things, to make their lives, to shape their lives, etc. So Arminianism is actually based on preachings of Dutch reformer Jacobus Arminius, who lived during 1560 and 1609. Okay, it is actually a challenge to the Calvinist belief of predestination. Predestination, it is. The predestination is like our in our culture the saying of శివుడాజ్ఞ లేనిదే చీమైనా కుట్టదు. The predestination in Christianity is like our this statement, శివుని ఆజ్ఞ లేనిదే చీమైనా కుట్టదు. That means what? That means God has already predestined the way of our lives. Okay, predestined the way of our lives. But when you listen to this concept, you will get a doubt if you are very rational in thinking or logical in thinking. When God has predestined our lives, why some of us are becoming thieves, some of us are becoming cheaters, some of us are becoming good, or otherwise you can say leave out thieves or cheaters, good, etc. But the two things only we can consider. If our lives are predestined by God, why some are becoming good, some are becoming bad. Okay, bad in the sense harming others or killing others, destroying others properties or lives, etc., etc. So it's a very rationalistic question. Okay, but Calvinists, I told you, no, Calvinism is what do you call a form of religion in Christianity only, that is based upon the preachings of John Calvin. And Calvinism advocated this predestination, and they believed that some are elected by God. Okay, some are elected by God or predestined. The lives of some are predestined so that they will remain good and then reach to heaven. So Arminianism is a counter for that. So the counter is actually, if it is predestined, of course only a few people who are elected. See, in the Christian discourse, you have this concept of chosen seed. Chosen seed. So if you follow the Calvinist idea of predestination, you may consider there is a danger of considering that Christ came only for those predestined people or chosen seed, and he is not for other people. So Milton and of course the followers of Jacobus Arminius, of course Milton is one among the prime followers of Jacob Arminius, and they advocated, instead of predestination, a concept that is free will. We are free to become either good or bad. So, of course, that means bad in the sense God has given us the two things: salvation, fall. So, good is salvation, bad is fall. So, now you can understand how the free will, the concept of free will is there in Paradise Lost. Come to the question of Saturn. Why Saturn was thrown out of heaven, and along with him n number of or infinite number of fallen angels came? Because if it is predestination, why not that God predestined even the lives of Saturn and all innumerable fallen angels, and why God could have stopped this rebellion or war in heaven? So the such questions we may get. But when it comes to free will, and Arminianism believes that this free will is given only because of goodness, mercy, and love of God. So it is given to human beings out of God's mercifulness or God's love, and because God is always for good. So the free will is given. So it is our will to choose either salvation or fall, but not as some are predestined and some are predestined for salvation and some are predestined for fall. It is not like that. So here, the Arminianism believes in the free will, and we can see how Satan, of course, executed his free will only. He didn't, follow what God intends to, and he, of course, chose for himself the fall instead of what you call the what you call as salvation. So, and of course, Adam and Eve also. And Adam and Eve, when they were created for bliss only. They were in the bliss only in the Garden of Eden. But they, of course, have, become, have invited their fall not because of their free will, but because of the temptations of Satan. See, because Saturn, of course, in the Paradise Lost book one, we have seen how he was designing, okay, to wage a war against God by destroying his plans. So, actually, for Adam and Eve, they were also given free will and they were left in the Garden of Eden, and only with one restriction, not to eat the fruits of those, the tree of knowledge. So they, of course, their free will, what you say, prevailed uh, for salvation, because being in Eden is the bliss and it is salvation only. So their free will prevailed till Satan tempted them. After that, they could not continue their free will. So, because of course they could not continue their free will, and they also had the fall. See, Saturn, of course, out of his free will, has chosen fall, and Adam and Eve, as they were tempted, they were they lost. They lost the paradise, and they were in fall, not out of free will, but because of temptations. And that is why, of course, God has chosen to send his son to regain the paradise. Okay, and of course, he didn't, and of course, Adam and Eve, after realizing what they did, they have executed their free will in a wrong manner. So, after they realized, they repented. Okay, they repented and they sought pardon from God. But whereas Satan, we have seen in the book one, he decides that I am never going to bow in front of God and seek his pardon. That is his decision. So that is why he is in the eternal fall, that is in the hell. So this is one concept that is dealt in Paradise Lost. And of course, Armenians also believe that Christ died on the cross, not as Calvinists feel, for the chosen seed or for some predestined people, but for all other people also. If we believe in the Calvinist theory of predestination, we have to think that Christ is only for those few, those the chosen seed with whom we consider as Israelites, and for them only God came. No, John Milton and other followers are John, Jacobus Arminius, of course, believed that God came to this world and sacrificed his life on the cross, not for the few that are predestined or chosen, but for all the human beings. And then it is by their free will that men have to choose their salvation and fall. So, this is what is the second concept in the Paradise Lost that we have. We can see when we go through the lines of book one. of course. And one more concept is like republicanism. How far republicanism is there in the Paradise Lost? So, Republican is not accepting the monarchy. So, this, if we go into this concept, actually, uh, Saturn, by not accepting God's power or God's will, uh, may appear to be the what you call agent of republicanism. Okay, liberty, okay, individuality, freedom, etc. But that is very much debated, and so if we want to establish republicanism in what you call the Paradise Lost, actually we have to completely say that Milton is on part of Saturn, because Saturn is the one who stand for his freedom, his free will, and what you call his what is that, independence. Okay, independent, being independent, they don't want to be slaves for God, etc. But so of course those two ideas are there, are two what do you say, many critics consider that of course Saturn is the advocate of the Christian cause, that is for the monistic God, that is God, the monarch, the God, etc. But some feel that Saturn as a rebellion, if we remove the religious allegory from the Paradise Lost, of course Saturn becomes the symbol of liberty, of course free will, etc. This is another, but we can't go into that. And of course one more thing is Christology is also there in Paradise Lost. Christology is the sun, the presence of the sun. Okay, and Milton portrays in other books which are not prescribed for your study, that in heaven, the while the war is going on, it is Christ who sits in front on the horse, and God is there behind him, and it is the Christ who wages war. So he makes Christ, of course, as an equal to God, though he is the Son. And of course, Son is the one who actually regains the paradise for human beings, or leads human beings in order to execute their free will in a good manner, so that they will get salvation, etc. So if you because one book is only prescribed for our study, this concept of Christology, of course, may not be very visible to you in book one, and it is there in other books, so we may not need to know more about this Christology. And one more thing, one concept I have told you is uh, yeah. Yes, these are the concepts that I want to explain in this lecture. And welcome. One more topic I will just touch and will leave, because it may not be a question for you. This is regarding the creation and style. How and when Milton conceived this idea of writing this epic. Actually, did he start his plan of writing the epic, or is it something else that we have to see? So, it is believed that among the scholars of literature, it is believed that Milton nurtured this idea of writing about human fall from 1630s itself. From his the young age itself, he nurtured his thought. Okay, 1630s through 1640s, also this thought was there in his mind, and he wrote many manuscripts also. He used to write so many in his books. He used to write many references, etc., and all those things. But first he actually thought of writing a tragedy or a dramatic poem. Actually, regarding human fall, he conceived the idea of writing a dramatic poem, okay, which is a tragedy, and on the biblical story of the fall. And his previous title was also, of course, the biblical story of fall, entitled Paradise Lost. When he wrote, he started writing the first book, actually, but later he changed the name. He actually tried the name of the book as Adam Unparadised also. This may be useful for your net, so I am letting you know that. So he thought of naming it as Adam Unparadised. And he thought of centering this book around the temptation of Adam and Eve only. But somehow, for reasons that are not clear to us, he changed the whole idea, and then he developed the idea of writing an epic. Okay, and of course, the epic, with he 10 books he wrote first, and then later he divided two books in between. I think 7 or 10 are divided, and it is made into 12 parts. And of course, coming to the style of Paradise Lost, we have to say that it is very complex. A complex style that combined allegory, drama, lyrics, okay, pastoral poetry, etc. And many, metrical structures, and also many similes, so much of knowledge, philosophy, theology, etc. are combined. So it's a very complex style that maintains, that is maintained by Milton in Paradise Lost. So for today's class, in my lecture regarding Paradise Lost, I have to share this only, and some more concepts or aspects of Paradise Lost I'll be dealing in the coming lectures. So I hope you will keep on listening and try to listen regularly. Okay, have a nice time.